Imagine someone walks up to you and says, "Give me $1 today, and in 30 years I'll give you 10. Most people would smile, thank them politely, and walk away. Now imagine that same person comes back 5 minutes later and says, "Give me $1 today, and I might give you 100 tomorrow." No guarantees, just a chance. Suddenly people get excited. Questions start flying. Really? How? Where do I sign? Isn't that strange? Because the first deal is how millions of ordinary people quietly become wealthy. The second deal is how millions quietly lose their money. So here's the question that this entire video is built around. If investing is actually simple, why do most people never become wealthy? It's not because they aren't smart. It's not because they don't earn enough. And it's definitely not because they don't work hard. The real answer is much stranger. Our brain is almost perfectly designed to make us bad investors. And once you notice how your brain works, you'll never look at investing the same way again. We like to believe money is a math problem. Learn a few formulas, read a few books, watch enough YouTube videos, and suddenly you'll know exactly what to buy. But money isn't mostly math. It's psychology wearing a calculator. Let's prove it. Imagine two friends, Alex and Ben. Both invest exactly the same amount of money. Both start on the same day. Both have access to the exact same information. 20 years later, Alex is significantly wealthier. What happened? Here's the funny part. Alex checks his investments once or twice a year. Ben checks them every 15 minutes. Who's more likely to succeed? Most people immediately point at Ben. He's staying informed, reading the latest news, watching interviews, refreshing charts every time he unlocks his phone, basically treating the stock market like a reality show with very expensive contestants. But over and over again, studies have found something surprising. People who constantly monitor their investments often perform worse than people who simply leave them alone. That sounds completely backwards. We'll come back to why. Because understanding this one idea changes everything. When most people hear the word investing, they imagine giant trading floors, bright screens, charts moving every second, people yelling into phones, someone somehow wearing 3 monitors like it's perfectly normal. Movies love showing investing this way. It looks exciting, complicated, powerful. Our brain sees all that complexity and quietly reaches a conclusion. If it looks difficult, it must be valuable. We do this everywhere. Someone explains fitness using 12 scientific words you've never heard before. Immediately sounds impressive. Someone says, "Eat more vegetables and walk every day." That feels too simple. Surely there has to be more. There usually isn't. The same thing happens with money. People search for secret strategies, hidden indicators, the next company that will 100x, because simple feels suspicious. But here's the uncomfortable truth. We often mistake complexity for intelligence, and investing quietly rewards the opposite. Think about planting a tree. You plant the seed, water it, give it sunlight. Now imagine digging it up every morning just to check whether the roots have grown. You're trying to help, but you're actually destroying the process. That's exactly how many people invest. The tree wasn't the problem, the gardener was. And that's one of the strangest things about investing. Your biggest enemy usually isn't the market, it's the person staring back at you in the mirror. Now here's the twist. The biggest investing mistake isn't choosing the wrong investment. It's believing investing is mainly about choosing investments. Read that again, because that idea completely changes the game. Most people think successful investors spend every day making brilliant decisions. In reality, many of the greatest investors spend more time avoiding unnecessary decisions. Sometimes the smartest financial move is absolutely nothing. Your brain hates hearing that, because doing nothing feels irresponsible. Action feels productive. Imagine you're stuck in traffic. You keep changing lanes. Left, right, left again. You feel like you're making progress. Then you notice the car that stayed in one lane the whole time is now ahead of you. You weren't moving faster. You were just moving more. Investing works the same way. Movement isn't always progress. Sometimes it's just expensive entertainment. Here's another strange experiment. Imagine you buy a small piece of a great business. Tomorrow, the price falls by 20%. How do you feel? Probably terrible. Now imagine nothing about that business actually changed. Same products, same customers, same employees. Only the price changed. Why does it suddenly feel like a disaster? Because your brain doesn't react to reality. It reacts to emotion. Psychologists call this loss aversion. Simply put, losing hurts far more than winning feels good. Lose $100, and you think about it all day. find $100, and by tomorrow you're wondering where it went. This tiny psychological glitch has cost investors billions. Markets fall, people panic, headlines scream, friends start saying, "I told you this was coming." Then people sell, not because they carefully analyzed the situation, because their emotions took over the steering wheel. History keeps repeating the same story. Every major market crash has felt like the end. Newspapers have declared capitalism dead more times than anyone can count. Yet somehow, markets recover, companies innovate, businesses grow, life moves forward. The headlines change, human psychology doesn't. Here's something worth remembering. The market doesn't pay people for being busy. It pays people for being patient. Time is the only investor that never asks for a salary. Think about that. The longer you let time work, the harder it works for you. So where do you actually begin? Not by finding the perfect stock. That comes later, if it comes at all. Start with a habit. Automate a small investment. Treat it like paying your future self. Keep learning while you're already investing, because waiting until you know everything is like refusing to learn swimming until after you've crossed the river. You'll spend your whole life standing safely on the shore, wondering what the other side looks like. Let's return to where we started. 2 offers, $1 today, $10 later, or maybe $100 tomorrow. Most people chase tomorrow, not because they're foolish, not because they're greedy, because excitement feels like opportunity. Patience feels like doing nothing. But they're not the same. The greatest investors weren't people who discovered hidden shortcuts. They simply learned to stop fighting time. They made time their business partner instead of their enemy. And maybe that's the biggest lesson of all. Investing isn't a competition against other people. It's a conversation with your future self. Every dollar you invest quietly asks one question: can I trust you to wait? And every time you resist the urge to chase shortcuts, you're answering yes. Because in the end, the greatest investment you'll ever make isn't in a company or a stock or even the market itself. It's becoming the kind of person who understands that the best things in life rarely happen quickly, but they almost always happen quietly. If this video made waiting sound strangely exciting, congratulations. You're officially becoming the kind of person the internet can't distract every 5 seconds. Subscribe to Simple Wins, where we uncover the surprisingly simple ideas hiding behind life's most complicated problems. Because sometimes, the biggest wins don't happen overnight. They happen so slowly that one day you look back and realize they were happening all along.